Hi.
Hey, how
Yeah.
are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Good
Good
to see you.
to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So you're literally 5 o'clock on the dot. So we're gonna get right into it.
Yes.
Welcome everybody to Lakithia Nicole Talk. I am Lakithia Nicole, and we have special guests with us. How about you tell them your name?
I am Brandi Benson, and I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you about just everything in general. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Likewise, I'm super excited to have you, and I'm super excited to get into this story. One
Yes.
Yes, I'm super excited to get into this story. So, Brandy, so let's get into it. So I want you to tell the audience, for those who don't know,
Uh-huh.
a bit about you. I know that you are an author. I know that you're a cancer survivor, but there are a few other things I want you to tell them about yourself that is in your bio.
Yes. So I am a war veteran. So I fought for my country in 2009. I went to Iraq. So that was a very interesting experience just in general with that. I'm an author. I wrote a book called The Enemy Inside Me, and it kind of stems off of my experience being in Iraq and coming back with a very, very aggressive cancer. So that's the story platform of that. I'm a brand ambassador for the Sarcoma Alliance, and what we do there is we spread the awareness about not only sarcoma cancer, but just like the importance of it, because a lot of people don't know what sarcoma cancer is. So that's the platform I'm pushing with them. And yeah, so that's basically like in a nutshell what I've been doing as of lately. Yeah.
Incredible. So let's start from the beginning. So you're a war veteran, you said?
Yes, yes, I
So
am.
let's get into that. So when did you begin to, get involved in the war and all of those things?
Yeah, so in 2008, I joined the military, and about 6 months right after basic training in AIT, I got deployed immediately. So normally, when you like on a regular job, you get like at least 90 days. You're in the position for a while. You learn what your job is, what you're doing, all the training that you kind of incorporated and learned on those 90 days. You kind of like putting all that into use and just trying to gauge the field and what you're doing. With the military, that wasn't really the case. So as soon
Mhm.
as I graduated from basic and AIT, I went straight to war. And I
Mhm.
felt like I wasn't really ready for it. So not only did I just learn how to shoot an M16, throw a grenade, manhandle a 50 cal, learn how to clear a room, um, see if there was like a punctured lung, how to fix a punctured lung. So I just learned how to just do all this stuff. And now I have to go to war and make all of this information, retain it, and possibly
Mhm.
have to engage and redo all of this learning all over and put it into like real tactics and real movement and motion. So it was extremely hard and very scary. And being deployed is exactly how you see it on TV, a bit. So there's lots of, action, there's bombs going off. We had mortars, we had shrapnel flying everywhere. It was extremely scary, very
Wow.
scary.
So
Yes.
how did you mentally prepare, when you realized that you had to go to war? Did you just
There was no preparing. I mean, so when you are in basic training and you're in AIT, it's kind of like there's a possibility that you're going to be going to war. There's a big chance yet, but you
Mhm.
really don't think it's going to happen to you just yet. So
Mhm.
when I'm learning how to do all these tactics and shooting and clearing rooms, I'm not really thinking that I'm going to have to use this information in the next 3 months. So I was paying attention, but not really paying attention, not thinking it's really going to happen just yet. So there
Yeah.
was no really mentally preparing me.
Mhm.
I don't really think you can prepare for war. I don't know if that's possible. It's really hard to to know that you have to fight for a country and you might die. You might not come back home. I don't know how you prepare for that. It's really hard.
So what inspired you initially to just even get involved in it, wanting to fight for our country?
Right. I know. It's such a crazy question. So I loved the whole culture of the military. I loved how um, family oriented it was. I loved how they were really strict with health and exercising. I loved that there was medical, there was dental, there was free education. I love that it was like its own little world, you know, in a sense. And in 2000, I think it was like 2003, 2002, my mother and my stepfather ended up, you know, falling out and getting a divorce. And during that time frame, we were so poor. We couldn't even afford top ramen. We couldn't afford any of the bills that we were having. Things were getting cut off slowly but surely. The phone was getting cut off. She couldn't pay for, you know, rent for the chair that she was renting out for as a hairstylist. So bills were accumulating, things were happening. And we had a friend that lived down the street that was in the military. And they would come over with these huge boxes called MREs. They're called meal ready to eat. And they're kind of like camping food. And so they gave us this, you know, these MREs, and we kind of just lived off of that for quite a while. And it was then that I realized, okay, so if something ever happens really bad, I can always depend on the military. The military will always be there for me. I don't have to go hungry anymore. My family wouldn't have to suffer. You know, I'll have a secure job. And so after that kind of happened, that kind of just planted the seed for me to want to possibly join the military. And then my sister ends up joining before me, and I kind of just followed her trail after that. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it in a sense, and why I chose to go that route. I just knew that the military would be a very, very safe safety net for me to join because they wouldn't let me fail.
Yeah. So it was basically just struggling from, you know, at a young age that you wanted to be basically taken care of. Just feel like you have that comfort, you know, that what do you call that's that blanket, that safety blanket, you know,
Yes.
go on, you know, that you would be taken care of. And so basically, did you guys get out of that struggle that you were in, you know, as a child, or how did you transition from that? Like,
so we ended up getting out of it. It was about 2 rough, really, really hard years. We got out of it. We were able to get back on our feet again, and it kind of didn't, we'll say, disappear completely because my mother ended up moving away, and then I ended up staying with my stepdad. So that whole struggling point kind of dissolved. However, now I was staying with my stepdad, and I'm not going to say he wasn't like, you know, fantastic or terrible or anything, but he wasn't that great. He didn't really do all, you know, he didn't do all that much. So I just kind of was like, I have to get out there. And he also was pushing me to join the military. Like, you're 22 years old, you know, you got to do something with your life. The military is a great option. And he was just, you know, just selling it, talking about how all the great points about it. And I'm like, he's right. You know, I think I'm gonna have to do that. So I ended up joining, and it really saved my life because a couple months later, after joining the military, I got a rare aggressive cancer, and it could have killed me. And the military paid for everything. I didn't have to pay a dime. And my treatment was over $3 million. It was a lot of money. Yeah, expensive.
wow, that was the blessing within that, you know, deciding to go to the, you know, to fight, you know, go into the, what do you said it's how did you say that again?
Which one?
You went into the military, correct?
Yes.
And so the military funded all of that.
Oh, yes. They paid for everything. All of my treatment. Yep. Got paid for.
Wow. And it was over $3 million?
Over $3 million. So if you think like a PET scan and an MRI, just one, I think it's like $10,000. I had multiple of those. I had blood transfusions. I had 7 surgeries. I had endless amounts of, I'm not going to say endless, but 101 rounds of chemotherapy in a year. I had physical therapy. I had, psychological help, mental health. I had a ton of different things, and they really, really took care of me.
So was this an aggressive form of cancer? Why it caused? Yes?
Yes, it was very, very aggressive. So I had something called Ewing sarcoma cancer. And Ewing sarcoma cancer, it's just, sarcomas are rare just in general. And Ewing sarcoma cancer is extremely rare in general as well. So it usually starts in the soft tissue area. And that means that it's in everything but the bone. It didn't manifest to the bone yet. So it's in the blood vessels, it's in the fat, it's in the muscle. So they literally resected my entire adductor muscle, which is the muscle. So if you were to like stand together and put your legs together, the muscle that lets your thighs touch,
Mm-hmm.
that inner muscle's gone on my left leg, and it doesn't grow back.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So now this is a rare form too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's get like into just that, like how did you mentally just deal with, okay, you, first of all, you're thrown out to fight, and then how far in between was it thrown into the fighting and then finding out that you were diagnosed with the cancer?
It was about 4 months. So I was deployed in Iraq.
Really? So
It
back
was
to
so
back.
back to back. It was so fast. So I got to Iraq in October 2008, and then January 2009, I saw this massive lump just kind of appear out of nowhere. It didn't hurt. Every time I touch it or move it, like I couldn't make it go anywhere. It was just like this solid rock in my leg. And I really didn't think anything of it because I didn't know you could get cancer in your leg.
I didn't either. So,
I didn't know that was possible. I didn't even know
yeah.
that was a thing. I
Mhm.
thought there was just breast cancer, lung cancer, brain
Right.
cancer, stomach cancer.
Right.
I didn't know you could get it in your legs. So when I had that, I never thought it was cancer whatsoever. But it
Right.
ended up being, a really rare and aggressive cancer, but just popped out of nowhere sometime. It was January 17th, 2009. And I went to the medic station, got it checked out, and they immediately sent me on the next helicopter that night at 8 o'clock to Baghdad to get a CT scan. And then from Baghdad, I went to Germany to get an MRI. And then that's when they told me it was a tumor. And then they took me to Walter Reed in Washington, D.C. And all this happened in about, we'll say like 19, 20 days. So January, I was feeling fine, except for I was exhausted beyond belief. And that's one of the symptoms. It's extreme fatigue. And then the next month, I'm fighting for my life because I might potentially die.
Wow.
It was very surreal.
And aggressive.
Very aggressive, yes.
Wow. So in the process, what were you doing? We're like, my thing is I'm trying to figure out how were you just balancing and dealing with it? Were you meditating? Were you praying? Were you worried? What were exactly were your feelings and how were you dealing with that?
I was worried. I was praying. I was scared. I was hopeless. I was in shock. I was in denial. It was just, I didn't know how to accept it. I thought they misdiagnosed me because I went online and I checked out the prognosis and the statistics of having that type of cancer. So one, I'm a woman, I'm an African American woman, and I'm 24, right? So that cancer affects young boys who are Caucasian. So I'm thinking, how could this even be this? I don't even fit the bill. Like they must have the wrong person. This can't be. So I was in denial for a very long time. And then after I see the cancer is just growing and it's growing, it's getting massive. It's getting so big that I can't even stand my leg out anymore. The lump is growing. So when they do the biopsies and you disturb cancer, cancer is just it's the cells that are growing and they're growing and they're growing, they won't stop. So when you disturb cancer or you disturb any part of your body, you cut it, the cells create itself to heal. So my body is trying to heal itself a billion times because I keep getting biopsies and things are happening. So it's just growing and growing and growing, and it's so large that I can't extend my leg out anymore because it's so big. I'm like hobbling around because I have it's pushing on my main artery. Yes, it was insane, but there's no preparing for it. I mean, I didn't go to school to learn how to defend myself from a terminal illness coming from within. It just I was lost for words. I didn't know what to do, but I was a lot of praying. Mm-hmm.
So was it because I read in the bio how there were different things that you did do to heal.
Yes.
What were some of the things that you did to heal yourself? Because I seen that in the bio.
Mm-hmm. So after it came to a point where I was not as scared. And so I have to say this. So I think the scariest part with chemotherapy or having cancer is that with any type of cancer, you don't know if the treatment is going to respond. So you don't know if the chemotherapy and the cancer are going to kind of, work, and it's going to kill the cancer or shrink it. So the scariest part is just wondering if it's going to work or not, because they had a really high probability that they were going to cut my leg off at my hip because they didn't know if it was going to work or not. So once I finally realized that the cancer and the chemo were kind of, it was responding well, and it was shrinking down the cancer a bit so they can, do the surgery and removed it. That's when I kind of realized, okay, maybe I do got this. Maybe everything is going to be okay. I need to start changing my mind frame. I need to start being more positive, more optimistic. I need to start focusing on what's going to happen after chemotherapy is over. I need to start thinking about the future. I need to start just preparing myself and kind of like daydreaming about what it was going to be like after all of this is over. And I'm not going to give up on myself. And I kind of just set little goals for myself, so I would push on for the next day, so I would have something to live for. So I ended up writing a journal, and the journal originally started out as kind of out to my nephew Donovan, because everybody thought I was going to pass away and die. So it was just there for him to know that he had an aunt that loved him, and I was really sorry that I was leaving this world and not having a relationship with him. And sometime during that time frame, I made a promise to myself that if I got to live, that I was going to turn this into a book someday. And that's kind of how the enemy inside me kind of manifested. So that was like another reason to live. I was like, I want to create a book. I want to make this amazing piece for people to find hope and in the struggle. So I just found small little things to live for. I went and got a car. I was extremely sick, and I had to talk the sales lady in to letting me have the car. I told her, listen, if you give me this car, it'll help me live. I'll be able to make the payments every single month. I'll look forward to it. I need something that's going to keep pushing me to stay alive. So I did small little things that would just kind of build hope for myself, to make it to the next day. And that's the biggest thing and the largest thing I can say, just in general, when you're going through something so hard, just have something to live for.
Yeah. And so did you feel that mentally you had to if you weren't mentally strong before, did you feel like now I really have to become mentally strong?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I always tell people this too. So cancer, you can be the biggest, strongest, you could be the fastest, the most athletic, whatever it is, physically, you can just be the top of the top. But with cancer, what it does is it destroys you physically. And at the end of the day, all you have left is your your mind. That's it. So you need to be mentally strong. You need to be able to weather the storm. You need to be able to push through the days that you're struggling and you feel so terrible because the treatment is so hard. You have to be mentally strong to be able to push through all of that and to know that everything's still going to be okay and you cannot give up. So you have to be. So now I know whenever something's happening or there's a paper that I have to do or work is really hard, I'm like, I got this. I got this. This is nothing. I got it.
And that experience made you, I'm sure, just mentally just stronger. You're able, because I feel like with something like that, you literally gotta, it's almost in a sense, go to war with yourself, because you gotta, muscle down and, and really just talk to yourself every day that you got this, that you can, that you can't. So what were some of those conversations like? Because I don't know what that's like having cancer. So I want you to tell us, what was that like and how you were speaking to yourself?
Right.
Forward.
Right. So I would not acknowledge myself feeling sick. Of course, I feel sick, but I wouldn't say it. So I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I feel like crap today. I wouldn't even say anything. I wouldn't say anything. I would just keep it to myself. I wouldn't say a word. I wouldn't say nothing. I would just think, I kind of replace it with something positive. If I thought, oh God, I don't feel good today, I'd be like, you know what? After this treatment is over, I'm going to feel so great. I'm going to eat this really big, whatever this meal was, I'll walk around. I'll have so much energy when I'm done. So I would just kind of turn it around and start thinking of the good things that I can control, because the chemotherapy and it just makes you feel so bad. It's the worst. Literally, you're being poisoned. You're
Mm.
being taken to the brink of death, and then they replenish you and bring you back. And you do that, with chemotherapy. So it's extremely hard. You feel very sick, but I wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't talk about it. And if I did talk about it, I'd make sure I kind of replace it with something more positive. And that, for me, I don't know if that works for everybody, but that's something that I did. And I also have learned, just this is like after years of research and just watching different shows, and YouTube is like the best teacher these days. But so our bodies are made up of tons of water, right? And our words are extremely powerful.
Our
And
words, yes.
yes, right? So
yeah,
very powerful. So you can literally like manifest whatever you're thinking and saying all the time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? And
Yes.
water holds memory. So in our body, so we hold memory. So whatever we're projecting, we're saying constantly, our bodies are going to be manifesting that and creating that reality for us. So it's important that you are focusing on what it is that you want to have and to experience. And so I would always talk about how I'm going to be a miracle. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what's going to be, or like what's happening, but I'm going to be a miracle. I'm going to be sharing my story with the world, and it's going to help people. And that's how it happened. And now I'll have so many people reaching out to me. It could be any type of cancer, and they just want to know that, let me know what I can look forward to. Like, how are you doing right now? How did you push through? And I'm like, makes so much sense now. Back then, made no sense. But I am helping people in the cancer community. My inbox is full of hundreds of conversations of people, and I check up on them and I make sure everything's okay and they're getting the right specialists, or if they don't know who to go to, at least I might know a resource to send them. Or did you know, this is a question though, did you know that when you're going through treatment, there are endowment funds that will pay for your cancer treatment? They'll pay for all of your treatment in the hospitals. People don't know about this, so I make sure that I tell that individual, your insurance might drop you, or you might not be covered. See if your hospital has an endowment fund that you might be able to be applicable for. And usually they are, and they'll be able to get the treatment, and they don't pay a dime out of pocket.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good that you don't, that you don't have to pay a dime out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, the good part about it. I wanted to go back to when you talked about, just because I think that's something for people to realize too, that are dealing with just any struggle, is how important it is that you realize that it's power, you being a testament of the way you started to think and the way you started to speak, but people to realize that there's power in our thoughts, there's power in our tongue.
Yes.
So we have to be careful what we're thinking, so we can't sit and think a lot of these negative thoughts, because they will affect us. And then we can't, because what we think, we speak. So if we're thinking negatively, we begin to speak it out of our mouths, and actually in a situation like you were in that would have ultimately defeated you, but because you started to think positive and you said, I'm going to be a miracle, I'm going to be a miracle, and then you I'm sure you started to speak it, I'm going to be this miracle. And for those that don't realize, you had this deadly aggressive form of cancer in 2009. Here we are in 2021. Yes, and you're sharing your story, and you're impacting, whomever the people are, but you're affecting their lives. So tell me, how have you been, and how has the healing process, because you seem like you're in perfect health now. So you've recovered, God is good. So let's talk about, just where you are now, over 10 years later, you've healed. And also and we can't neglect the power in your thoughts and the things we're speaking, because someone could have been in that same situation and felt so defeated, they just said, I can't do this, what? And then that could have just taken their lives. You know what I mean? That could take your life. But with you thinking positive and speaking positive and saying, I'm going to be a testimony in so many words, being a miracle is a testimony. It saved your life. So can we talk about, can we get into that?
Yeah. So it took a really long time to get to the place that I'm in today.
Okay.
First, I had to acknowledge and mourn the person that I was fighting for that whole year. So in
You had to
2009,
mourn. You said you had to mourn for that person.
the person that died, the old me, that shedding
Yes.
a whole new person, I
Yes.
had to accept that the old Brandi Benson is dead and she's gone. I had to accept that I no longer could play basketball or soccer, all my athletics that I was known for, that I physically look different, I'm mentally different, and I'm emotionally, I have PTSD, I'm scarred. So I had to learn how to like navigate this brand new person that I had no idea who this person was. I was 24 and I've lived this whole life of whoever I thought I was, and now I have a clean slate to rebrand myself, to figure out what I like to do, what can I do, what are my limits, what am I great at. I just didn't know, and so it took a long time to kind of figure out who this new Brandi was, and just accept that the old person was gone. And that was really, really hard. For at least 3 years after treatment, after treatment, I've kind of just really wanted to get back to the old Brandi. And I was like, this person's
Mm.
gone. There is no old Brandi. Like, Brandi, you have to wake up. You have to let her go. And I know it's so hard to do, but I had to do it. And finally, when I accepted all of my flaws, my 27-inch scar, my small leg, and just this totally just different person, and now I'm disabled. Once I discovered that and started to love myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to learn to accept myself. And if I can't accept myself, nobody else is going to. So that took quite some time to do. And when I
Mhm.
finally engaged with myself and kind of just learned that life is a journey, and there's none of us that are going to get out of here unscathed. All of us are going to go through something, and we can't live in the past and be so excited about bringing up the past and what we used to do, because you miss really great moments of now and the present moment and what's going on in life now. So I've
Mhm.
just really learned about accepting what happened and moving
Mhm.
forward and being excited, and not being ashamed of what happened, because a lot of people don't live from that kind of cancer. A
Right.
lot of people don't. Yeah, and I have my leg and I have my life, and so now
Mm.
it's just about telling my story and
Yes.
pushing through, and accepting the flaws that I have and everything about me.
Yeah.
But that really has changed the trajectory of my life. It's made me extremely grateful. Cancer in
Mhm.
itself not only changed me physically, mentally, like emotionally, but I'm able to help others now, because
Mm.
I'm just a totally different person than I was before. And mentally, of course, it changes you. So I
Yeah.
found the power in mental health. Before, I didn't see the reason why you would go to see a psychologist, or why are people making a big deal out of PTSD? It's like, get over it. And
Yeah.
now I understand, it changes you. It changes your DNA. There's
Mm.
something to be said about that. And you need to acknowledge that and express what's going on. So it's just, a lot has changed. And I know that I'm still evolving, I'm still learning, and I'm still learning myself and making connections with other people. But just being able to live in the present moment and not focus on the past is really key to recovery.
Yes. And then what about, can we go back to also how important it was for you to, you talked about the, shedding the old you, dying to the old you, becoming the new you. But the key factor was loving basically and accepting the new you. How was that process? Just loving yourself, and how important was it that you did love new you?
I was, I, I was so ashamed, and I'm so pit. I don't know if you can say that. I was mad. I'm sorry, I almost cussed for a second. I was very upset about it. And so I felt like if I continued on living upset and angry and mad, that's going to affect my relationships just in general. I'm not going to be a pleasant person to be around. I'm going to be angry. That's not good. It's not healthy. That's not the life that I want to create for myself.
Yeah.
And that's not the life I want to live. I don't want to continuously be missing out on these great moments or these great interactions or life in general, because I'm like so locked up about the past and what happened in the past and what got taken away from me. I I just had to move on and let it go. Yes, it happened and it sucked and I didn't like it and I felt cheated out of life and I felt like I could have done other great things in life and played on a grand, scale with soccer or basketball, but that's not what was in my cards at the time. And you kind of got to learn how to navigate the land. There's a crossroad and there's one of the roads are blocked off. You can't get over the hurdle. You got to go the other way. There's another route. You just got to go. You just got to go with the flow. And that's also what I've learned. You just got to go with it. And another thing I learned was a lot of people get hung up on certain goals that they want in life. And they feel like if it's not exactly how they want it to be, and it's not exactly the way that it's supposed to happen, they give up. And it's like, that's not the case. You're going to run into bumps. There's going to be lumps. There's going to be hiccups on the road. But you can still get to that destination. It might be a different route. The GPS is taking you a different way. And for me, mine was I really wanted to play on a grand scale with soccer or basketball because I've played sports my entire life. And I wanted to do that so bad. So when the doctors told me you'll never run, you'll never play sports, you'll never have any of that, I was like, God, that's terrible. And then years later, I found out about the Paralympics. It's like, of course I can. I can still compete with others that have the same disability as me. It might not be in the form that I want it to be in, but there's still a way for me to compete a different route, a different way. So I just, life is not a straight and narrow. It has lots of curves and there's lots of drop-offs and there's highs and there's lows. And as long as you're still focused on what it is that you want, you can make it. It just might not be in the fashion or form that you originally planned it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. I want to also go back again to, so for people to realize, because I feel like sometimes we get caught up in, past victories. And like you said, you get stuck at what was. And like you said, none of us will make it out of here without going through something. We all have to, unfortunately, go through things. But the thing about it is, it's actually not unfortunate because a lot of times, these tests and these trials, they lead to our testimonies. They lead to the stories that God has given us, like as with you've been able to help, other cancer, people. I'm not sure if they're survivors, but people that are in the struggle right now. And you've been able to share your testimony too, as to how they can, heal and how they can mentally heal, and also it's important to also physically, not only physically and mentally, but also spiritually, have that healing there, because you said you were also angry at one point. So you did have to release that anger, correct? And you had to let go so that you can, accept and receive this new life. And upon receiving this new life that you live now, do you feel and find fulfillment in this new life now that you really accepted it?
Of course, 100%. And I don't feel like if I didn't accept it, it'd be a totally different experience for sure. But I've accepted everything. It's just, I feel like this is like my role or my destiny that I'm supposed to be playing. Like everything is fitting in perfectly. It's going with ease. There's no resistance anywhere. I'm going with the flow of the river versus against it. So it's like, this is probably what was supposed to happen anyways, So it's like, okay, I got it. I appreciate my life. I appreciate my leg. I'm happy that I was able to live in my experience and I'm able to share it with the world. And of course, you don't have to have cancer. This is, so it's just about trauma or, getting over those hurdles. And I'm a testimony of getting over that cancer, which was my trauma, that hurdle for me, but it's in any shape or form. Like we are so strong. And when our backs are against the wall, you never know how strong you are really until your back is against the wall. We are so much more stronger than we truly, truly know. And we don't give ourselves enough credit for it.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, let's talk about the healing process physically. So for you, the healing process that's happened in 2009, you were able to, like you said, you have this extreme doctor bill. That's extremely wild. But how about the healing process from 2009 to 2021? Like, has it been clear all of these years?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yes.
So with this type of cancer, and I hate saying it because I don't want to be like a pessimistic doctor, but I'm just saying what the statistics are according to, stats. But it has a high tendency of it returning. And when it does return, it will come to like the lungs, the spinal cord, and the brainstem. So this cancer is very aggressive, very, very rare, and it just, attacks really vital organs in the body. And
Mm.
I'm lucky that I'm at my 12-year mark. I haven't had any.
Praise God.
Yes, I haven't had any other scans coming up positive. Thank you, Jesus. But
Yes.
yeah, thank you. I'm grateful for that because
Wow.
I I don't know. I would never wish that on anybody. Not only is it just like so draining mentally, cancer, but physically. Not only on you, but the person in your family watching, or your friends
Mm.
watching, or your children watching you go through this, because you start off in this regular person that they know, and then you slowly deteriorate to this really
Mm.
weak individual that can't walk, that can't hold food down. You're sick, you're bald, you don't have hair anywhere, you're weak, your voice is trembling, and you just slowly decline into this, really like you're shriveling down to like nothing. It's hard. It's really hard. Really hard.
And how important would you say that, faith played a role for you? Because obviously I heard you just say, thank you, God, right, with this. So you're a testament to say that God brought you through, correct?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Wow.
I prayed every day. I prayed. I begged and I pleaded, and I don't know. I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't ready to go, and I didn't want to believe in what the doctors were saying because everyone thought I was going to die. But
Mm.
my faith in God, and my faith in myself, and my faith in the power of my mental strength, I knew that I had it in me to keep pushing forward. And again, you really have to eliminate all the distractions. I had doctors that didn't believe in me or what was going to, my fate and what I believed in was going to happen. So at the time,
Believe?
I'm sorry?
The doctors didn't believe?
They didn't. Everyone thought I was gonna die. So I guess I failed to mention. They
Yes.
come in. The doctors thought I was gonna. Everybody thought I was gonna die. Did because they never seen a Ewing sarcoma case ever. It's never come across them. Even till this day, I'd reached out to my surgeon, and he said he's never run across anybody that had a Ewing sarcoma cancer before. I'm still the only one.
Really?
12 years later. Yes, it's rare. Not a lot of people get it.
Wow. And so they told you that you're
Yeah.
not like you can possibly expect to die.
Yes, and so they would come in with the chaplain, which is like a priest in the military,
Mm.
and they come with this massive crucifix, and he'd come in and he would pray over me for days, for weeks, and then after the treatment started catching on, and I was doing better, and it was responding to the chemotherapy, the chaplain would stop coming in as often, and so it stopped from going like once every day to like every other day to once a week to every other week to once a month, and then he just stopped coming completely. He's like, okay, she's, my praying is doing, I guess, his work is good there, but they really didn't think I was going to live. They would have me sign my will and update it constantly because they thought I was going to die. They wanted to make sure all my affairs were in line. So this energy of them thinking, I'm gonna die. So I'm slowly like I'm observing, and I'm absorbing all of this and realizing, oh my God, like nobody thinks I'm gonna live. So
Mm.
it came to a point where my mother, who was there for me the entire time of my treatment, we put a sign up that said, "Don't come in." Like if you don't have anything positive to say, and you're not on the same level as us, and we think she's gonna make it, you can't come in. So we
Right.
had a sign up that said, "Don't come in. Do not
Yeah.
enter. Knock."
Yes.
So we kind of eliminated that, and she was very strong with that, and we stopped letting people coming in, and we started, her and I, and my nephew was there also there at the time, just really focusing on the power of the mind and the power of the tongue, and
Were you
just
praying?
yes, of course,
Yeah.
yes,
About
yes,
that.
we
Because
had to.
people need to realize that there's power in prayer.
Oh, of course, yes,
Yes. And
we were
how did
praying.
you feel the prayer affected and changed the narrative for you too?
it made me feel more connected to God. It made me feel more secure. It made me feel more like I was more in control of what was going on versus being out of control.
Mm-hmm.
It just really helped me ground myself a bit more, because it's really a surreal feeling to have to face your own mortality at a very young age, and then you don't even want to die. This is
Yeah.
not what you asked for. I have
Yeah.
barely lived any life.
Yeah.
So being able to pray and pray with my mom and make sure that we were saying what we wanted, like getting our wishes and our prayers to God, and believing that it was going to happen. And slowly we started seeing a huge change, because what we were saying and what we were living, what we wanted was health and sustainability and vitality. And all of this was slowly starting to happen. So we were kind of seeing like, oh my God, this is really working. So we just kept it up.
Yeah.
We knew that it was working, and we just kept the other people who did not feel the same as us or hold the same vision. We just kept them out.
Praise God. Let's, Brandi, real quick, I want to fast forward to the healing. When you found out this is gone, she's healed.
Yes. So that happened the same year in 2009. I think it was in September. And I was on a lot of different chemotherapies. I was on a lot of different medications and a lot of stuff. And everything was still it's like being on a roller coaster, and everything's zooming by so fast, and you kind of don't have any time to like register. Was that a tree that just passed me, or was that like a bush? Like, I didn't know what was going on. So when they told me that I was cancer free, I remember sitting on the bed. I had like a bandana on my head, and the doctor came in and told me there was no evidence of the disease. And I just remember feeling so numb. Like,
Just serious?
I felt so numb. I was just like, okay, like, I didn't know what to say. My mom started bawling, crying. She was so happy, and she was so, thankful that finally, she's going to be okay. Like, this is finally working. Her being there by my side 24/7, it's paying off. I don't have to worry about my daughter dying every single day.
Yeah.
The cancer is gone. And I just remember sitting there like, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, okay, I'm still going through this treatment still. Like, why do I have to keep getting poisoned?
You were still going through treatment when it...
Yep.
So, okay, quick question. So upon diagnosis of the cancer to healing, how long was the time span?
It was about 10 months.
So 10 months of going through that all together. Yeah. And then you were healed before the year was out.
I don't want to say healed, because... So you mean like 100% healed? I'm all better. I'm kind of like back to normal.
So actually, when the doctor said it, they didn't see it anymore.
Okay. So that was about 8 months. So about 8 months of my treatment. So what I did was I did chemotherapy. I did for 5 days, 8 days off, 5 days, 8 days off, 5 days, 8 days off. I did 17 cycles in 1 year, which is honestly like unheard of for a lot of people, because it was such an aggressive, strong regiment that I had to do. So when I finally am cancer free, they still have to do the chemotherapy, because they want to get every little microscopic cell that could potentially grow, break off wherever, and then manifest either the lungs, the spinal cord, the brainstem. So they're making sure, because this cancer has very high probability of it manifesting everywhere and metastasizing and staying, going to wherever it is. So that's why I had to continue the treatment. Even though I was cancer free, I still had to finish the regimens of the 17 cycles. So after all of that is done, I have this massive hole in my leg that's like the size of a silver dollar, big hole in my leg. And it's because my body has broken down so much. I can't heal from the surgeries that I've had over the time frame. So I was walking with a limp, and I had a big hole, and I'd have to pack it with this wound pack stuff, and pull it out and pack it and stuff. So when that finally started closing and healing, my body was finally starting to heal. And that was probably in February 2010. So about a year after treatment, after the chemotherapy, after my leg heals up, that's when I started seeing a huge difference with my health. I wasn't walking with a hunch anymore. My
Mm.
strength was getting back. I
That's-
had neuropathy in my fingers and my hands, and that's when your fingers are really numb and tingly. I had my nails were black. I had dark dark circles under my eyes. I had my mouth sores. I was just banged up. But after all of it was finally done, about February, exactly like a year later, my hair started growing back. My skin was kind of returning back to its normal color. But it took a while because, like I said, you're bringing yourself to the brink of death, and then you're bringing yourself back up. You're killing yourself, and you're bringing yourself back up. And that's what chemotherapy is. You're killing all the good cells, and then you give yourself a break, you replenish everything, and then you kill yourself again. It was really hard on my body.
And I mean, I'm sure not just the body, but the mental, because even though you were fighting, that you really gotta go. You gotta war. That's really where the war will take place at, because you gotta seeing yourself go through all of that, witnessing it,
Yes.
not just seeing it, feeling it, actually going through it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that
Yes.
that mental battle was just, it was insane. I'm sure
Yeah.
even if you did have, a ton of great days, I'm sure there were days where it was like, wow, I'm tired. This is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, right?
I slept a lot. They gave me a lot of medication, and it was really hard. It was
Mm.
really hard on me. So when I first started out, I was strong. I was in the best shape of my life because I was in the military, was deployed, and the only thing to do during that time of deployment was work out. So I was working out like 3 times every day, like hardcore working out, really working out. So when I got to the war, the very 2009, when I first got there, I had a six pack. I had really chiseled arms. I was in shape. By the time it was all done, and I wasn't walking. I had to get wheelchaired out of there. I was running out of breath. I was so weak that I couldn't even hold a pen and sign myself out. Like my handwriting was illegible. I couldn't do it. My mom had to sign me out. I was so weak, so weak, so tired, so exhausted from fighting every single day. It was hard, but I learned a lot.
Wow, but
And I'm here today.
you're here today through all of it, and we see you, and you look very vibrant in your photos on
Thank you.
Instagram. Yes, very vibrant spirit. And I'm happy and
Thank
grateful that you survived that, because you're necessary. The story, getting it out here to basically help people that are in that same situation, because some people sometimes are not mentally strong. They can't deal, everybody is not mentally strong. And that's
Right,
a fact. Some people can't deal with things smaller than that. So for
right.
you to have dealt with that, you're definitely a warrior queen. I wanted you to get into, so was it after the cancer and everything that you wrote The Enemy Inside of Me? Was it before, I mean, right after you and the military? So when in there did you begin to write The Enemy Inside of Me? Was it after the cancer, in between?
So I started writing The Enemy Inside Me. So it was originally started out as a journal for my nephew. It was just there so he had something to remember me by. And then when I kind of was figuring out, okay, I
Oh,
got
that's
cancer.
right. You said it was
Right.
during
So,
the fight that you were in.
so
Okay.
right. So it was like in the hospital, I wrote it. And then I made a promise to myself that if I got to live, I have to publish this. I
Yeah,
lived. And so
that's
I was
right.
like, okay, right. And so then in 2013, I get out of the military. I got medically retired because I was no longer a soldier. I was like a
Yeah.
broken soldier. I couldn't run. And God forbid I got deployed again and I can't get up because I fall on the ground or something happens because my leg is significantly weaker than my right leg. I felt like I was a hindrance to the whole entire institution. Like, why would I want to put myself and my battle buddy or the rest of my comrades in danger
Yeah.
because I still want to like live out my dream of being in the military. So I ended up getting out, got medically retired, and I had to kind of think of a good program that I could join. And I wanted to join a writing program because I wanted to change my journal into an actual book. So I
Mhm.
signed up for this really amazing program in Savannah called Savannah College of Art and Design, got accepted into it. and I used my journal as my thesis. And so from there, I kind of just started crafting different pieces and things and made it a book. And that's how it kind of got like born, really, was just through that program. And then I finished writing it in 2015. My thesis committee loved it. They thought it was amazing. I had them crying in tears. They thought it was great. And, you know, they're like, you know, you had me on the, you know, the edge of my seat. I knew you were going to live because you're here, you know, but the script was so great. They're like, you really have to publish it. And I'm like, okay, if these people from this super prestigious school think I have what it takes to have a book out, I was like, I'm going to do it. So then I started kind of doing my research about where to put the book, how to do publishing. And then in 2008, a couple years later, I published the book, and that's how everything kind of just started from there. And it's just been kind of like the snowball effect from here. And now I talk all across the country about defeating the enemy inside you, which is adversity. So the enemy inside of you could be anything. It could be drug addiction, it could be cancer, it could be health, it could be, you know, a bad habit, whatever it is that's not allowing you to be the best version of yourself. And how to face that, how to figure out what that is and what that looks like, and having like a blueprint and roadmaps to kind of dig yourself out of that and rebrand yourself and get back out there.
Yes, beautiful. I have to say that your story I was so engulfed in just your healing and what you went through, how traumatic that was, that literally you had already told me when you started writing the book. You remember in the beginning, but I literally lost track of that because I was so deeply, like I said, into what you were saying and all you were enduring, because that's actually, you know, I have to be honest, I haven't had an interview that entailed that much trauma in the sense of cancer, you know, literally you talking about like you had to literally be reborn in a sense, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot. And to be here today is just a testimony, a true testimony, and also the testimony of the power of God. And because I can't do this show without highlighting his power and highlighting just that you are a true overcomer and you defeated this through the power of God. Now talk about briefly, if you will, just like your motivational speaking, because I've seen where you spoke about, you know, speaking with people, you know, because of all that you endured.
Yeah, so I'm with a company called TLC Lions. They're called TLC Lions. Yeah. So what they focus on is very unique stories that are told in on a broad spectrum. So it's kind of just showing that we all are going to be enduring some sort of trauma or traumatic event. And then how do we relate these stories into the workspace? Because, you know, suicide is running rampant. There's, you know, domestic abuse. There's, you know, there's people are homeless. So all of these things are happening with your fellow colleague. Well, how do you acknowledge that? How do you help somebody who's going through this? So that's what that company kind of encompasses, is just highlighting stories that all of us have in the workspace, and then kind of recapping with those stories or these tools or these tips or experiences, and how do you recognize that? How do you fix that? And when this happens in the workspace, or this does occur wherever it's at, and it's affecting your job or your mental health, like how do you fix all of these issues? So that's what I do with them. And I had a talk with Salesforce with about 3,000 individuals. That's the largest audience that I've talked to. So it was interesting, to say the least. I had a really great time. But so I just talk about my story of overcoming cancer and adversity. I talk about my stepfather who left my mother and I, and we were, you know, extremely poor. We didn't have any money to have food or survive. We had 3 dogs. You know, we made it though. I really don't know how we did, but we made it out. I talk about joining the military and not being prepared for being thrown in the war, and how unpredictable life can be, but you have to learn how to be versatile. You have to learn how to adapt and change and be creative with what you're being presented. And I talk about my cancer experience, and then I talk about my mother and how important it is to have a support system who is there and who is going to be there for you unconditionally. Because you need somebody when you're not strong. You need somebody who's going to be strong for you. God is great, of course, but sometimes you need physical form there.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Yeah, and when you listen to you just go over everything, your life has just been a true testament of survival and overcoming because from the poverty that you mentioned in the beginning and having to go through the war and you just being thrown into that, not prepared and ready, but through everything you were able to just overcome and survive each thing that was thrown at you, so
Right.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and then even building yourself back up mentally to be here and have your own platform where you're helping, like I said, tons and tons of people. I mean,
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. Can you tell the audience before we leave out where they can find your book at?
Yes. Yes.
Sure.
So you can go on my website. I'm like, yes, yes. You can go on my website. It's called BrandiLBenson.com. You can order it from there, or you can order it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's called The Enemy Inside Me. The Enemy Inside Me by Brandi Benson. So those are the two places you can find it. And if anybody's interested in requesting me as a speaker for their events or even just a talk, I guess. They can request me at TLC Lions, and if they just want to talk about trauma or overcoming
Mhm.
something or how to overcome something that's hindering you, they can inbox me. I'm here to talk, and I'm very passionate about helping people and guiding them and holding their hand essentially and
Mm.
letting them know that it's gonna be okay. We're
Yeah.
all, like I was saying, we're not gonna get out of here unscathed. And if
Mm.
that happens, you are not living life. That
Yeah.
is like, you're not a human. It's the
Wow.
part of our experience these days.
Wow. So wow. See, there's no, like I said, the theme. I let everybody in the guests know that the theme of this show. So there's two. So there is no glory without the story. And I feel
Mm.
like you definitely have a story, and you also have the glory. And then also, I wanted people to realize is that you can see the glitz and the glam, but you don't know the story. Like you
Mm-hmm.
look beautiful, but people don't realize that you've went through something. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
all of us, the whole thing is that we all have a story, and we
We do.
shouldn't be ashamed of our story.
Right.
It makes us who we are.
Right.
Everything we've had to come through, and so
Right.
I just personally again thank you for being a part of this show, Brandi. Thank you for sharing your testimony. I wish you all the best. Can you please let them know where they can find you on all social platforms before we leave out really quickly?
Yes, yes. So everything's all the same. It's at Brandi L. Benson. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Pinterest, that's Facebook. Made it super simple for everyone. So follow me, I'll follow you back. And again, if you have any questions about anything at all, I am an open book and so grateful and glad to share my experience. And if I have any guidance to how I can help, I'll definitely point in the right direction if I'm not able to.
Amazing. Thank you
Yes, thank
so
you.
much, Brandi, for being a part of Lakithia Nicole Talk. And I wish you all the best, all success, and of course, continuous healing, continuously to healing mentally from all of that, and continuously learning and blessings and prosperity to you.
Thank you. This has been great. This might be the best interview that I've had so far. This is
Wow.
amazing.
Thank
Yeah, this was good.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Really appreciate it. I wish we had more time to just go
It's okay.
in, but definitely I would love to have you back on the show again to just really get
Oh,
into
thank you.
more. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Aw,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Brandy, and I wish you the best with everything.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.